Welcome to our review of Collective Leader Efficacy, Strengthening Instructional Leaders' Teams by Peter DeWitt, published by Crown 2022. This book is supported by some pretty big leadership names and researchers. You've got Hattie, Fullen, Elmore, Dufour, Robinson, DeWitt. They all feature in this really practical piece of work by Peter DeWitt. We've heard a lot about teacher efficacy and the impact of this. And in his previous work on collaborative leadership, DeWitt began to push our thinking towards leadership efficacy, leader efficacy. And this book dives directly into that. It brings theory and action together, presenting in each chapter a theory of action followed by guiding questions, new learning and understanding, and then he provides activities and an application for reflection. It is a really practical guide that could potentially lead your team to some really, really deep discussions and invaluable work around building leadership efficacy. It will take commitment as a team to do this well, but the potential impact of this work is huge. If you have a high-performing team, this could be what you need to do to move to your next level. There are a couple of small challenges I have with this book, and I'm throwing you all over my screen here. But the acronyms, DeWitt uses a range of acronyms throughout, and I found myself having to go back to the glossary page to make sure I was translating the word in work right. I think he's done this to try and work across countries and the different education language and structures in different systems. If he had focused on one system, I think that perhaps I could have moved into the context myself without interruption in the text. The second challenge is that he has so many fantastic ideas and so much great learning to share that I wonder if we actually got to the point of content saturation. I did the same when I wrote my thesis. I'd learned so much and drawn so many understandings, I wanted to share it all. If I rewrote my thesis now, I would have left many things out and used it for other pieces of writing. DeWitt has enough content here for 3 books. So let's look at the book. The book, it has 3 sections, 12 chapters. Section 1 is about research. Chapter 1 gets into definitions of collective leadership, leader efficacy. Section 2 is a bit meatier and chunkier, and it talks to us about what are the drivers necessary to develop collective leader efficacy. So chapter 2 is developing a leader and a learner mindset, moving beyond deficits in the way that we think to actually ways that students can move forward and leaders can move forward and we can achieve efficacy. Mental health and well-being is the focus of chapter 3, so that's really looking at self-care, mindfulness, meditation, coaching, goals, and de-implementation. So really looking and taking a stock take of what are the things that work well and why do they work well, so we keep doing those things, the things that we should stop doing, and then initiatives we need to start. Chapter 4 is about context beliefs. So what are the norms, the expectations, the way that we work around here? What is accepted? And which of those need to be challenged? Chapter 5 looks at working conditions that leaders create for themselves, for other leaders, and for teachers. And chapter 6 is the crunch of it all. It's about professional learning and professional development. It's about learning, not training, and even looking at leadership learning and scaffolds needed around leadership learning. We're going to touch more on professional learning when we talk about Viviane Robinson's work in another part of the screen. But that's the biggest impact, is that professional learning and professional learning as leaders and teachers together. Chapter 7 looks at organisational commitment. What is your commitment? What is your system? And what is your school? And what is your leadership committed to? And then the balance there of what are your teachers committed to or you are asking them to commit to. Will you do the same as you ask? Will your actions align with your words? Chapter 8 looks at the skills that we need to work in collectives. So if we are asking people to work together, what does that mean? So it's understanding that collectives are not about power, hierarchy, control. They are about EQ, communication, social sensitivity, contributing to collective responsibility. And the final part of section 2 is chapter 9, but talking about how do we build the confidence to work as a collective, to move away from some of those more secure structures or traditional structures that we've used, but developing cultures that are safe, cultures that are trusting with genuine belief, belief in each other and authenticity. So that takes us to section 3. Now, so you've gone into a whole lot of understanding, some theory. There's some understandings of what we need to do and structures we need to set up in the workplace. And then section 3 really looks at, well, what is it we want to change? What is it we want to learn? And let's get into the planning and process of that. So chapter 10 is what components define an instructional core. So coming back to instruction and what is it we want to set up. Chapter 11 looks at the instructional leadership team's cycle of inquiry. How do we inquire? What processes do we go through? And then chapter 12 is like jump in, boots and all. Let's make a plan, a pathway. Let's pull it together and get the stuff into place. There are a range of appendices that offer a good range of ideas and support to thinking. Some of them I wouldn't use, but I would certainly say get into them because they springboard you into a whole lot of other thinking. So what can we then learn from DeWitt? What is he suggesting that we need to get in there and know to bring about collective leader efficacy? And he's saying first, well, let's give us a definition. And he is a bit wobbly and wishy-washy in this, but when you read through it all, these are the messages he gives us. It's a shared conviction that educators make a significant contribution to raising student achievement. That collective efficacy is intentional and it's a shared conviction. Efficacy itself comes down to confidence in your own and then the ability of others, your collective ability. We use this strategy and make these learning leadership decisions because we know that they are proven to work with our people in this context, that this tool or this way of working or this strategy is effective here and now with our people. And it's the confidence, that almost automation we have in knowing that. The self-belief that comes with that, self-belief leading to collective belief. It begins with self-efficacy and then leads to collective efficacy. It requires deep reflection and a culture of learning and risk-taking and huge engagement. That's engagement of students, teachers, leaders and community. It's about impactful, purposeful, explicit practice. Well, why is all of this important then? DeWitt goes back to Viviane Robinson's work, and I've touched on this in previous reviews and other work that I've done with you. But Viviane's leadership effect size is highlighted here, and that effect size, we're talking about John Hattie's work, 0.40 equals 1 year of difference. So leaders establish goals, making 0.42, so slightly more than a year. If we have established goals, it's a strong impact. Strategic resourcing has an impact of 0.31. Establishing routines, orderly environments, supportive environments, still very valid there with 0.27. Having good plans, coordinating, evaluating, teaching in curriculum is 0.42, so it's important. But we need to look at number 5, promoting and participating in teacher learning and development. Having our teachers do professional learning and we do it alongside, that we participate as leaders has 0.84 of an impact. We can make 2 years difference by turning up, being part of the PD process, prioritising it and making it an important, focused part of our work. So my question there is what is your team prioritising? Are you making the most impactful things the most important? Are your team prioritising professional learning and getting it in there alongside your teachers, making it happen? So how do we get there? There's some critical messages that DeWitt is giving us. Collective leadership is not about distributing leadership. It's much, much more than that. Efficacy requires relentless partnership with teachers. It's getting rid of power and it's coming back and learning to learn about instruction, about instructional learning and learners themselves. It is about professional learning for teachers and leaders. I love the quote there, leaders are not immune to learning and nor should they feel like they have to know it all in the first place. Teaching leaders to learn and teaching leaders to lead. It's about systematic collectives. It's not just your building, but it's how you impact in that wider system of learning across a number of schools or in an area. It can't be achieved through hierarchy. Collective leadership is not about power. And commitment can't be one-sided. It's about building cultures that allow for honesty, for deep discussions about important things like learning and engagement. We need to be aware that tensions stop efficacy. Theory has to line up with action and reality, and needs have to be met. We have to create actualities, not just talk about it, but do it. That we need to have a consciousness that leaders, we overestimate the value that we bring and the impact of the culture that we create. We think we influence it all. We have a massive influence, but we are not the be-all, end-all. Need an understanding that efficacy is about mastery of experiences. Mastery brings fluency, and fluency brings confidence. So knowing what works and why and how. How do leaders contribute positively to the working environments we put our teachers and leaders in? Do we know how to look for engagement? Do we observe it? Behavioural engagement, emotional engagement, cognitive engagement, and then understand when and how and why all of this happens. This unpacking is what creates efficacy. So we really know what works and why. EQ, that emotional intelligence, is critical to efficacy. Self-awareness, self-reflection, self-management, social awareness, awareness of interactions and relationships, relationship management. Critical are our communication skills. The acronym WOVEN, written communication, oral communication, visual communication, electronic communication, and non-verbal. Are we socially sensitive? Because if we've got a social sensitivity, we will be able to create partnerships and genuine connections and collectives. And then are we honest in our reflection, the impact, the effectiveness that we are having? Can we come back to that stop doing, keep doing, start doing? Efficacy and the road to collective leadership, leader efficacy, is a deliberate, planned partnership. It's a planned pathway to learning. It is about asking a lot of questions and really understanding and unpacking the impact of what we do. Core to all of this is, well, what action do you take? Why are you working in this way? How do you know this will impact positively? Collectively, how are we effective? What are the best processes and decisions for our people in this context? Can we make mistakes? Let's learn and reflect. Professional learning really impacts. It impacts greatly if we partner as we do it. Ciao for now.